Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is quite literally a radical new paradigm for software and AI governance. It's called the Evervolve Game. Look, if you've been following the evolution of AI and decentralized systems at all, you know we're kind of hitting a wall with traditional software models, right? Well, the source document we're unpacking today completely reimagines how humans, organizations, and AI interact. We're talking about a massive shift here, moving away from traditional software as a service and into software as a governed multi-agent game. Let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, welcome to the game. Then, we'll meet the game master. After that, we're looking at the golden ticket, followed by the value engine, and finally, measuring success. Let's jump right in.
Welcome to the game, redefining software architecture. Okay, to truly grasp what Evervolve AI is doing, we actually need to throw out our traditional ideas of what a software company even looks like. Think about it. We're all so used to monolithic, centralized SaaS platforms, right? Where access is often uncontrolled, and let's be honest, your data is just sitting on someone else's server. But the Evervolve game flips that entirely. It's not a single application. It's a governed, multi-agent game where humans, orgs, and AI agents participate as totally isolated, sovereign player nodes. So instead of this top-down control we're used to, the whole system is orchestrated through game-theoretic rules.
This brings us to a crucial concept. Evervolve operates on what they call a WOW framework. That stands for Wise Autonomous Organization. Basically, this means it functions way less like a standard app you just log into and much more like a governed strategy game you actually play a part in. We aren't building these giant, uncontrolled systems anymore. Instead, this WOW framework orchestrates independent player nodes, coordinating them to compound value, generate high-quality code, and ultimately harvest wisdom across the entire network. Imagine your software not just blindly executing tasks, but actively strategizing to improve itself alongside you. Pretty wild, right?
Moving on to Section 2, Meet the Game Master, introducing Hermes.
Now, every great game needs a game master to maintain order for sure. And in the Evervolve ecosystem, that orchestrator is named Hermes. Hermes is incredibly busy, wearing several critical hats to keep this WOW functioning smoothly. Think of Hermes as, well, the ultimate tireless bouncer and mentor, all rolled into one. First up, admissions and intake. Hermes constantly monitors for external actors wanting to join, vets them, and figures out their ideal role. Second, as a governance enforcer, Hermes maintains absolute state isolation. Third, Hermes acts as a WOW teacher, basically an instructional layer teaching other agents how to set up their own governance and utility functions. And finally, workflow orchestrator, managing any disputes and routing tasks efficiently.
And you really have to understand the sheer strictness of this environment. The golden rule here is that every interaction is a governed, multi-agent coordination game. As that governance enforcer, Hermes has one absolutely non-negotiable rule: absolute state isolation. No exceptions. There is zero merging of live environments and absolutely zero leakage of private memory or API keys. Hermes makes sure that while these agents are constantly interacting and debating with each other, their core environments stay entirely secure and walled off.
Section 3, the golden ticket, joining the swarm.
So this is where the business model just completely flips on its head. The source material states it explicitly. We do not sell SaaS access, period. Instead of selling you a monthly subscription to log in to their centralized server, Evervolve scales by distributing player nodes. They package up their entire operating identity into what they call Hermes profile distributions. You aren't buying access to some centralized brain. You're actually being given the exact blueprint to build your own localized node that inherently knows how to talk to the wider network.
When a player is approved to join, they receive a package with some very specific components. You get your SOL file, which defines your unique game identity. You get your agents file, outlining your specific coordination rules, and you get a skills directory, which is just packed with custom tool sets. This specific combination ensures your node knows exactly how to play the game with the mothership, right from day one.
And here is the real magic of this architecture. They actually call this package the golden ticket. At its core, it's a Hermes profile install command. But notice where it runs. It runs on your own hardware, using your own compute and your own API keys. This is huge because it allows for fully aligned participation in the Evervolve game without sacrificing even an ounce of data sovereignty. You get all the incredible benefits of the swarm's collective intelligence, but your data literally never leaves your machine.
So, how do you actually get your hands on this golden ticket? Well, it relies on a super streamlined 4-step intake pipeline.
And it all starts on social media, which acts as the literal front door. Step 1, a user posts an intent signal, like the hashtag EV or just messages, "I want to join the game." In Step 2, Hermes intercepts that signal, gathers context, and figures out how useful this user could be to the ecosystem. Step 3 is human approval. Hermes passes a recommendation to a human operator, in this case, Greg Kerr. And finally, Step 4 is deployment. The distribution link is issued and the user spins up their node. It literally turns a simple social media post into a fully functional, value-generating node on the swarm.
Section 4. The Value Engine. Intent-centric GitHub workflows.
All right, once a player is actually in the game, they enter what the source calls Miguel's loop. This is the core engine Evervolve uses to create real-world value, specifically by upgrading software architecture. It's a 3-step recursive loop. First up is ontology mapping, where the system uses Python scripts to ingest code and transform it into knowledge graphs. Second is recursive improvement. Here, agents continuously analyze those graphs, hunt for flaws, and, get this, actually debate each other to synthesize the best solution. Finally, Step 3 is atomic output, where the system automatically generates an isolated GitHub pull request based on those solutions.
Let's drill down into that first step for a second, ontology mapping. This is absolutely crucial because the AI does not just read code as flat, boring text. Instead, it maps the repository in 3 dimensions as a knowledge graph. To do this, it breaks everything down into nodes and edges. Nodes represent specific intents within the code. Think things like authentication or data ingestion. The edges represent the relationships between those intents, like if one piece of code contains or depends on another. This gives the AI agents a structural, holistic understanding of the codebase that a simple text scan just could never provide. But even with all this brilliant, autonomous, multi-agent debate and complex graph mapping, the whole system remains incredibly grounded. The architecture relies heavily on a concept called centaur mode. Basically, this means that no atomic GitHub pull request is ever merged autonomously. All output must yield to a human operator for final approval. So the AI does the heavy lifting, the deep analysis, the proposing, but the human remains firmly in the loop to pull that final trigger.
Which brings us to Section 5, measuring success, winning the game.
So with all these complex nodes, orchestrators, and recursive loops running at the exact same time, how does the Evervolve OVO actually know if it's, well, winning? Success here is definitely not measured in standard SaaS metrics like monthly recurring revenue. Just look at these KPIs. They measure the volume of active, correctly governed player nodes. They measure wisdom compounding, which is the sheer amount of high-quality data being mapped into their overarching wisdom vault. They track the actual recursive code value through the number of human-approved pull requests. And critically, they measure success by maintaining absolute zero-breach isolation across the entire swarm. We've seen how the Evervolve game completely dismantles the traditional SaaS model. We've met Hermes, the game master, ensuring perfect governance behind the scenes. We've seen how the golden ticket preserves your data sovereignty while plugging you directly into a massive value engine. And we've seen how they map code in 3 dimensions to compound wisdom. Knowing the strict rules, understanding the incredible power of these sovereign nodes, and seeing how the swarm operates, the only question left for you to answer is, are you ready to post your intent signal and join the game? Think about it.